Hello, I'm Michael DiMartino, the producer and current host of the Golden Road TV and radio show. We're just about to be 1 year old this August, and we've been committed to a weekly 2-hour live TV broadcast, which occurs on the internet both through YouTube and Ustream and other platforms, and broadcasting across Northern California on 8 different cable channels. So we're still in our early development, but nonetheless the show is beginning to gather momentum and is a great success. The show itself is focused on arts, culture, history, health, the environment. We do focus on some peace and justice and also some science and technology. So even though I'm usually in front of the camera hosting the show, I wanted to do this video in an auspicious spot like Mount Shasta, just to bring you the magnitude of what we're doing with the show. I'm constantly traveling, shooting video, archiving, and then live streaming almost every Sunday to bring conscious, educational, and enlightening content to you, the viewers, and to around the world. We also broadcast the audio on several radio stations, and we're now offering podcasts. So I'm doing this video as an appeal for support. We live in the current day and age where independent media is being threatened, but with the power of the internet, we can still reach the world. So at this time, we do have some underwriters and sponsors for the show, but it's growing really quickly, and we're appealing and asking very simply for your support. So if you're watching this video, go to the Facebook page or to the website goldenroadradiohour.com, and please make a donation to help support this effort, because in just the last 11 months traveling around this area of California and other regions, talking with people, there's something really special happening. And I'm very honored to be a part of that and be able to bring that to you every week through independent, non-commercial media. So if you're committed to the voice of people and the voice of the community, if you like art and culture and music of the world, again, please support the show, and we do graciously appreciate all of your support. So thank you, and on that I'll leave you with the image of incredible Mount Shasta in the background after a day of shooting the Best of Mount Shasta Festival and Conference. Just one of many events that we cover every week here on the Golden Road. So thank you so much for your time. How you doing?
And we're back, and our next guest needs no introduction. He's legendary, he's epic. Anyways, he does so much, and he appears a lot on the show with the next part called Rahasya Uncensored. And he's also the co-publisher with his wife, Dara, of Lotus Guide magazine. And he's no stranger to community work, community building, and to educating and inspiring people through independent media. And he's really became a brother in the time that we've been working and collaborating together. And I'd like to welcome to the show, Rahasya Poe.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Here we are in Shasta.
Yeah, in Shasta.
We're moving around, right?
Yeah.
We were down in Auburn and out in Chico at the Women's Club, and we're here now. I want to acknowledge Greg Messer, who's actually helping to direct and produce the show from this amazing space here in Mount Shasta, Snow Creek Studio. And also, we're going to meet in just a little bit his wife, Chris Messer, who's a premier and amazing artist. Just in the few moments that I've been here in the studio, you know, so many people coming and looking in the windows and intrigued by the artwork here. So the idea of this part of the show, Rahasya Uncensored, you do so many different things. You interview so many people. You have your radio show. I never quite know what to expect, but I'm always amazed. Here it comes. Drum roll. Doug, drum roll. And
you know, the subtitle to Rahasya Uncensored is Questioning Our Answers. And I have found from an early age, actually, that most everything I've been told from Santa Claus on has not been the truth. Teachers and priests and preachers and
what do you mean, Santa Claus?
I know this is tough for you, you know. And Now here we are today. Here we are today, still believing everything that we're told. You know, for instance, NASA was started by Warner Von Braun, who developed the V-2 rockets, who was in touch with the best propaganda machine on the planet.
Right.
And they're in touch with everything, and they tell us what they want us to know.
Right.
Now here we are listening to the governments, and so it's dawned on me. I made this little 6-minute video, it's all a lie. Because if you start out with that premise, like I was having dinner with David Icke,
Mhm.
and I said, David, tell me what do I need to know as I'm researching and going out into the world and finding out what's going on? He says, just keep this in mind. It's all a lie. Start out with that premise, then set out to prove or disprove or go from there. Because everything I've run across so far has been, well, just say, not exactly how they say it is, you know?
And it's amazing, even looking historically, let's start with history. If we look back in time, you know, we were told that history started at a certain point in the beginning of civilization. What's interesting now is they're starting to find all of these structures in places like the Middle East and Turkey, places in Peru and Bolivia that actually far exceed by thousands of years the story that we've been told about human history and civilization. So even going back historically, these are things that we weren't taught. And it's hard to rewrite history books, but I think what we're getting to is that's some of what's happening.
Do you know who wrote our history books? English lawyers put together our history books. So that should tell you something. I mean, so much truth is coming out, though, if we can use discernment and pay attention. But I've noticed so much is happening underneath the scope of public awareness. You know, like I went to a lecture in Reading, listened to Kevin Shipp. Kevin Shipp is an ex-CIA, and he was saying how there's over 2,000 secret organizations within the United States hiring 1.3 million people that have signed non-disclosure forms. What are they up to? And in a bit, I'm going to read something from Kennedy that really points to the fact that we need to pay attention. Dr. Tenpenny was there talking about vaccinations. I did a little video on that, and I had 5 different mothers get in touch with me and say, hey, haven't you heard about the herd thing? And da-da-da. I said, okay, here's some information. Go watch it and get back to me. 4 of them got back to me and apologized. I said, wow, you know, this is really true.
Right.
Like how they do their research. 9 out of 10 doctors, by their counting, they do not read the research. They read the little abstract at the bottom. But if you read the whole thing, you can see that the research is skewed in favor of the pharmaceutical companies. For instance, they only choose healthy kids. Like if they have 100 healthy kids for a research project, okay, if during the very beginning, the 7 to 10 days, if any of the kids has any kind of reaction to the vaccination, they take them out of the research. So this means that we have kids that are healthy that didn't react to the vaccinations, and the placebo group is getting a placebo shot with aluminum in it.
Aluminum and mercury and a whole
Well,
list
they've stopped, they say they've stopped using the mercury, but if you have aluminum in both shots, that way they can say, no, the placebo group even reacted this way.
Right.
But if you read on the actual research, they explain that this is what they're doing. And I know what they're doing. They're getting ready for the court cases so they can show the judge, you know, hey, we tried to tell them. You know, read your cell phone, like the little manual in the back.
Right.
It tells you, don't put your cell phone next to your head. This is for the future court cases coming to light.
And there's a lot of things I've heard that's coming out in Europe too about the effects and hazards of cell phone use.
Yeah.
And it permeates into so many different fields.
Well, we have to pay attention. Okay, just vaccinations. If autism keeps going at the rate it's going, by the year 2040, it's going to take the whole global community, including every single penny that we make, to care and take care of autistic kids. We can't do that. So what are we going to do with them? These are hard questions that we need to start answering. You know, why is autism gone crazy here
Or
lately?
even just senior care. My mom, who's 78, I've been working with her and got her in assisted living, but just the care of how we do or don't take care of our older our elders and our elderly people, and how we've kind of created a whole industry around that, and even going back to daycare. So a lot of the things that aren't working in the system really is dividing and breaking down, and a lot of course, is purely motivated just by
Right.
financial gain.
Yep.
And that capitalistic entrepreneuring.
Well, we've built a financial system that's based on consumerism. Consumerism is based upon using products. Products is based on resources. And that for the financial system to exist, it has to constantly grow. And we're using finite resources. This is going to lock up, and it already is starting to lock up.
Right.
So there's so much happening, Michael, under the radar. I mean, 67 million people last year didn't pay their taxes. You're never going to hear about this on the news. They don't want people to know about it. Federal Reserve, there's a great book out called The Creature from Jekyll Island. If you get a chance to read that, it lays it all out. That people think that the Federal Reserve is just the United States, right? No, it's in over 200 countries. And in fact, the only countries that we don't have the Federal Reserve and the fiat money system in is 7 or 8 countries. And those happen to be, synchronistically, the countries that we're dropping bombs on.
Right.
Now, this is not an accident. You know, we're being manipulated into war
and
after
I
war.
heard that actually some of those countries, they call it the petroleum dollar, because all the petroleum resources in the world are using the dollar as a currency. A lot of these people want to shift out of the dollar and use their own currencies, which would happen. The profound impact on just the power of the U.S. dollar is,
Yep.
it's not known, but it wouldn't be good for a lot
Well,
of people.
it's under
here.
attack right now. There's some court cases going on that aren't being advertised at all. And it's all coming out that we're under a maritime legal system. The Federal Reserve is completely illegal. Completely
And
illegal.
it's so interesting because I heard because of since the economic downfall that they've just been printing more money.
Yeah.
And even behind a lot of the money, there's really no gold.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's a fiat money system, and they just add, I think 95% of all of our money right now is digital. So they can just go to the computer and add zeros. But that's coming to a close. Once our dollar gets off the market and all this gets exposed. Remember, a good example is The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was just like a happy-going story, but they were all really afraid of the wizard, right?
Right.
When did it change? It changed when the curtain was pulled back. When the curtain got pulled back and they seen that it was just an old man up there pulling levers. That's what we're seeing right now. We're watching old sociopathic, pathological people manipulating behind the curtain, but the curtain is pulled and it's all over YouTube what's going on. So I think there's a brighter day coming, but we have to pay attention. You know, I get told—
And take responsibility for
Take
yourself. And that was what
responsibility.
was so great when Jack was here. He's talking about how he's taking the responsibility to have his water source and to provide a lot of his food and well-being, because as we have been on a lot of these systems are changing or collapsing. I even heard on the front page of the paper yesterday, the governor of Florida basically saying to people on air, there's nothing we can do. We can't help you. You're on your own. And this is the governor of Florida saying to people 5.6 million people who are in a mass exodus to get out of the way
And it's
of
just
Hurricane
beginning.
Irma.
I mean, the word responsibility is responding with ability. And if you want to respond with ability, you have to know what you're responding to. And this is where it comes in. Like some people say to me, well, you know, you're being a little bit negative here. I say, no. This isn't being negative, because everything that's happening right now is good. It's good that things are collapsing. It's good that things are deteriorating, because we are not good for this planet the way we are. And I use the example, if I'm standing on the street corner getting ready to cross the street, I know I'm going to get to the other side, but not to the point where I'm going to shut my eyes.
Right.
And just because I keep my eyes open doesn't mean I'm being negative. There's some common sense here to pay attention to our world.
I mean, and it's becoming more obvious between the last few hurricanes, the ones that are following that. the earthquake now, the 8.5 quake in Mexico felt as far as Colombia and Guatemala, the impact of what's happening with that. I mean, there's so many things happening. The acidification of soil, whether it's through, you could say it's a conspiracy through chemtrails or weather modification and all of these things that we're seeing that the system and to have a comfortable, peaceful existence is becoming much more challenging. And I just saw the Al Gore film. He did Inconvenient Truth,
right.
And of course, there's a big discussion about the validity of global warming, science versus political posturing. But what was interesting is in the movie, his new film is called Speak Truth to Power. And he basically says the whole movie follows him to the United Nations, to the last Paris Accords, where basically the U.S. decided to pull out of the Paris Agreement as far as setting a global precedence for the environment and for pollution. But followed him through his whole journey. And the victory was that he got a few people to partner, like in India and China, who was just firing up and entering into their new level of industrialization, that they were planning on doing coal-burning power plants. I think between India and just China, we're talking about 25 to 30 more coal-burning power plants and what that would add to the environment. Just that alone and how that would accelerate the potentiality of global warming and just even the quality of air. So he did a big project to partner solar companies with these governments to which can't afford to do much because coal can be cheaper, but convincing them to do stuff with solar. The point I'm getting to is at the end of the movie, after the U.S. pulled out of the agreements and all the other things he found, he said, listen, I've been working politically for change for 35 years. I was the vice president. I've done these films, et cetera. He said basically that a lot of the system has been hacked and taken over. And a lot of it right now is not really trying to serve the people. There's a lot of self-interest. But the point he said is that now people have to stand up and, speak truth to power in the sense that we have to come together as American citizens, as a global community, and let our voice be heard in peaceful ways that people know that this is not working. We have to wake up because the people, a lot of them who are profiteering off of these things are, it's profit over people. So it was amazing to hear his story and then to say, the system's hacked. There's nothing else we can do. We just have to be educated and to speak intelligently to people and get people in our local communities more mobilized and aware, whether it's the Crystal Geyser water issue here in the Shasta, Siskiyou area, whether, whatever the issue is, everyone has their unique things that they're dealing with. But just to hear him say that was really, again, it's nothing new, but it's a reaffirming of the wake-up call, like, we have to do this
It's
now.
a tiny step in the right direction. I wish they would get into the alternative energy sources. Like our military's been using these crystals they found in Peru many, many years ago. Some miner found acres and acres of it in Death Valley, and they think it's created by tectonic plates scraping. 1 gallon of these crystals would run your car 40,000 miles. And these are no secrets. These aren't conspiracy theories. These are like real things. You can go down there and see the crystals. There's so much out there that if we just wake people up and start talking, like talking our truth, but not just any old truth based on facts, hard facts. I read this the other day. I didn't read it, actually. I watched the YouTube of Kennedy's speech he gave. And if you go to YouTube and look up Kennedy, the speech that got him killed, it's really well worth watching. And the whole thing would take 4 or 5 minutes to read, but I'm just going to read a couple little lines, The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, secret oaths, and secret proceedings. And this is what Kevin Shipp, the CIA agent, was talking about. It's permeating our society right now. And the next step is to turn neighbor against neighbor. But we can stop this. And one of the next things he says, we decided a long, long time ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. This is the Patriot Act. You know, we're like going down this path. And remember, these things that he's saying, we're taking out a few minutes to talk about this. He gave his life to try to wake us up to this.
And what's interesting too, when we were up here for the eclipse, there was also a conference happening called the Eclipse of Disclosure of forward thinking people, individuals, organizations who are talking about what's happening with finances right now, what's happening on all levels of technology, who are trying to say, listen, people need this information, and not only as an alternative or an option, but these are becoming the cornerstones of information that we need as a culture, as a society, to make the right choices of the simple reality of self-preservation.
Yeah, we're down to the wire. I mean, statements like this is reason question our answers. It's too big to fail. Well, if it's too big to fail, it's too big to exist. Nothing in nature, if we had a tree 2,000 feet tall, it would fall over. Mountains only get so high and gravity keeps it down. We have to be in alignment with nature. And if we don't start doing this, we're in trouble. But here's the exciting part, people. I mean, we can get really involved in this, and this is the adventure. We're on a path of discovery, a spiritual discovery of our true nature. Who are we as human beings? Kennedy ends this, we were born to be free and independent. And we as human beings, we are spiritual beings on this planet. And forget about the negativity and people saying there's a conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. This is an exciting adventure, you know, and if you're a spiritual warrior, you don't look at this stuff and cower. I mean, like the Wizard of Oz. The moment we got rid of our fear, it changed everything. And this is what Kevin Shipp brings up too. He was telling me that when he started speaking against the CIA, he was like, they had him on the run. I mean, fearful and everything, but the moment he recognized, okay, that's what they do, and the moment he stood up and just got rid of his fear, everything changed. They backed completely off. He hadn't
well,
heard
this
from
is, as you kind of referred to, and I don't want to get too deep into it, this really relates to a lot of things that's been happening with planned eugenics and population control and resource management done by a very small percentage of people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is stuff I know I could talk about for hours, and I know you talk about a lot on your radio show, which is
Spiritual Active. If you go to spiritualactivist.com, it'll take you there. And the reason it's Spiritual Activist is because we are spiritual beings, but our problems are spiritual problems, a problem of consciousness. Everything that's going wrong right now, we could alleviate if we could just raise our consciousness, like Einstein said, and it doesn't take a genius to figure this out now. If we try to solve our problems from the same level that created them, it's never going to work. We have to raise our consciousness. We have to be the spiritual beings that we really truly are. And we've been indoctrinated and programmed not to go there. But we are much more than what we think we are. So it's time to think differently.
And it really ties into so many traditions and cultures. When you were speaking, it brought to me the whole vision of Black Elk's vision of restoring the sacred hoop. So the idea is that red, white, yellow, black, men, women, children, and the elders, it's time for us to sit in that circle, to bring our communities back together, and to heal the sacred hoop, and to heal our relationship with each other, our communities, with those who are different, and also with the natural world. So, you know, this is really nothing new. Lots of people have spoken about this for a long time. There's many different traditions and teachers, but really, when we distill it down, a lot of it is the same message. So, again, this show, Golden Road, with all the people we have on it, is not only to showcase what people are doing and to get educational, inspiring information out to the community. We're now in 10 counties and online on YouTube and podcasting, and we're only a year old. But the idea is to help empower each other and to create a forum for us all to come together and to share some of our ideas, because you know, everybody has an important role. Everybody has something valid to contribute, and when we can start to share these ideas, it really starts to strengthen ourselves, our own awareness, and also our communities.
I might like to add a couple of things here. First, in Mount Shasta, I brought up more outdoor enclosed boxes for the magazine, Lotus Guide. So you're going to see more enclosed boxes around Mount Shasta and Weed, and we're trying to put way more attention on this area right now. So if you go to lotusguide.com, you can see all of our pickup points, and that'll guide you to Rahasya Uncensored, the radio show, what we do here. And Michael has a great column in our magazine every time, so, pick up a copy.
Well, it's been nice because I've been able to, during the show, I don't like to share too much of my perspective. It's more like giving the community a video camera and a microphone. But what's been nice, and we've really appreciated with your sponsorship and presence on the show, is I get to share a little bit of my, it's not just an infomercial for Golden Road TV, but I get to share a little bit of my perspective. And like you said, and I know you just had an interview with Bruce Lipton in the last issue, the whole idea of imaginal cells, when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, it doesn't know what it's going to be. It might be painful. All the cells change. It becomes goop, and we're kind of in that stage now. But through this process, the caterpillar somehow molecularly manifests into a butterfly. So I think, as an analogy, we're very much in this chrysalis right now, socially, globally, of what's happening in the world to kind of find the new paradigm and come back into balance with the natural world and with each other, so that we can fulfill our highest human and spiritual potential.
Yeah, and using that little analogy, it's the imaginal cells that are embedded into the chaotic goop in the middle, and they hold the pattern and the vision of becoming a butterfly, but they're also part of the old caterpillar regime. And that's where we're at. We're at this precarious balance of seeing where we were, dealing with it, being responsible for it, and trying to fix it the best we can, but at the same time having the vision of what we can become and holding that tight.
And a lot of that does take discipline, whether it's maybe our diet, maybe how much fossil fuels, or how we use our technology in a way that, is not being more detrimental than positive. So again, there's so much we could talk about, and I've really enjoyed getting to know you and to having you on the show. You've always been a great contributor. So I want everyone to check out Lotus Guide magazine and Rahasya Uncensored and Spiritual Activism Radio. I want to thank all the guests that have been on the show. And while we were just talking, speaking about, we're all spiritual beings, I'm really happy. Our next group, Earth Circle Drum, we're going to have a little bit of some video of their opening ceremony last night and a blessing that they brought to everyone who attended the event at the Palace Theater. But they're another group, like everyone here on the show, who are walking their talk to try to help educate and inspire people. And one of the real things that struck me is, as soon as the drum starts and to see them sitting in the circle and the power of their music and their song, the heartfelt nature of it, and what they're singing about, and the unity that you feel from that is extremely powerful. It really goes beyond just language. So we're going to have them coming up in a few minutes. Again, I want to thank Greg Messer here, helping to be our director today. I want to give him a nice round of applause, headphones and wires everywhere. That's what makes it happen. Greg was the director of Siskiyou Community Television for many years. He just passed on the torch, but we look forward to collaborating with him and the local cable channel. But we do broadcast now in 9 counties and online, so thank you. We're going to go over to an In the Field clip, and we'll be back just a few moments. You are watching Golden Road TV. We're podcasting radio. Thank you so much for your attention in a world where it's maybe hard to give one thing our attention, but we really do appreciate your viewership and support, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. And again, thank you so much, Rahasya, and your wife, Dara. And we're going to be coming out pretty strong this spring with some things about the idea of community resiliency. We're going to do some community think tanks like we did at Mount Shasta City Park a few weeks ago, where I met Jack Alice and Andre Morgana from the Best of Shasta, reconnected with a great friend, Shambhala, and many other people that are walking their talk and doing great things to help restore the sacred hoop and to strengthen our communities and enriching our quality of life. So we'll be right back.
Follow the golden road. Follow the golden road. Follow, 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 follow the golden road. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show. You'll find it is a whiz of a show, if ever a show there was. It's arts and culture and history, environment, health, technology, and peace and justice, science, just because of the meaningful things it does. We're off to see the Golden Road TV show.